Okay, so this question asks to find the perimeter and the area of this figure right here to the nearest hundredth. So the question specifically says that this figure is formed by a semicircle and a rectangle, which I have set up here, and the diameter of the semicircle is the same length as the rectangle. So that's going to be 10, which is shown right here. So we know that the rectangle has a length of 10 and a width of 4. So like any equation, we're going to start off just with what we know first. So we're going to write down the perimeter and the area equations for the semicircle and for the rectangle, because we already know that. Now what's going to be a little bit different about this equation is that the perimeter is only including the outside. So if you notice, one of the sides of the rectangle, again, this one here that we've pointed to before, is not going to be counted in the perimeter. So usually the equation for perimeter is 2 length plus 2 width, but because one of the lengths of this rectangle will not be included in the overall perimeter of the figure, the modified one, so PM for modified, is going to be just 1 length plus 2 times the width. So that's going to be the one that we're focusing on. And then for the semicircle, we're going to take the usual circumference for a full-size circle and divide it by 2, because we're only actually including half the circumference of the semicircle. So circumference of the semicircle is going to be the usual circumference of a circle. So actually, you know what? I'll write that first. So usually circumference is 2 pi r, which can also be written as pi times the diameter, okay? But for this one, for the circumference of a semicircle, so CSC is going to be 2 pi r divided by 2, which is just pi r, or pi times diameter divided by 2. Okay, perfect. So now that we have those equations for perimeter, let's start with that. Okay, first things first, perimeter modified for the rectangle is going to be 10 as the length plus 2 times the width, which is 4. So that's going to give us 10 plus 8, or 18. And we don't want to forget inches here. So this is going to be 18 inches because that's the units we were given for the problem. And the circumference of the semicircle, we're going to plug in what we have. We know that the diameter, it told us in the question that the diameter of the semicircle is the same as the length. So the diameter is 10. So we're going to do pi times 10, which is the diameter, okay, divided by 2. So that's going to be, we'll simplify it first before we implement pi. So that's going to be pi times 5. And that is going to be 15.71. Okay, so 5 times pi is 15.71. And this question asked us, and again, let's do inches. This question asked us to round to the nearest hundredth. So we're going to add the total perimeter. So P total is going to be the sum of the perimeter of the rectangle and the perimeter or the circumference of the semicircle. So that's going to be 18 plus 15.71. And the total of that is going to be 33.71. So 33.71 inches is our perimeter. Okay, perfect. So now I'm going to add a second board, and I'm just going to draw the figure again really quick for the area. Okay, so perfect. So this is 10, this is 4. So we know the area of a rectangle, so AR for rectangle, is going to be length times width. Again, we're starting off with what we know first before going into what we don't know. And we know that the area of a regular circle, so AC, is pi r squared. Now, because we're finding the area of a semicircle, we're going to divide that by 2. So A of SC, so semicircle, is going to be pi r squared divided by 2. Okay, now let's plug in what we have. So again, it's important to note that the radius is the diameter divided by 2. Oops, let me write that a little neater. Diameter divided by 2, which we know to be 10. So we know the radius is 5, right? Because that equals 10 divided by 2. So let's plug this all in. And we're going to add the two areas together once we find their individual values. So the area of the rectangle is going to be 10 times 4, which is 40. And the area of the semicircle is going to be pi times the radius, which is 5 squared. So 5 squared divided by 2. So that's pi times 25, and then all divided by 2, which is going to be, which is going to be 78.54 divided by 2. So that whole thing, this entire thing together, is going to be 39.27. And remember, we don't want to forget the units. So we have inches squared, or IN squared. Now we're going to add the total thing together. So we have AT, or area total, is going to be the area of the rectangle plus the area of the semicircle, which is going to be 40 plus 39.27. And that whole thing is going to be 79.27 inches squared. So our area is 79.27 inches squared, and our perimeter is 33.71 inches. Hope that helps.